Good afternoon, and welcome to a special edition of Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darrell McGriffin, and we have a power-packed half an hour of conversation with you today. And as most of you know, and those of you that don't, this is election day, and a lot of people are going to the polls that haven't voted either in the early voting or the absentee ballot voting. So we are very, very pleased to have a person on the phone who most of you will know. He is the current Speaker of the Michigan House, and his name is Congressman, or I want to say Congressman because we know it's going to be something that's going to happen in the very, very near future. But this is our current Speaker of the House, and this is currently House Representative Mr. Joe Tate. Mr. Tate, Speaker of the House. I want to say Speaker. I want to say Speaker Tate, but you tell me. You kind of correct me in terms of saying whether if I'm saying Speaker Tate or the Honorable Joe Tate, or how you want me to address yourself.
Well, Joe's just fine, Mr. Griffin. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you just having me on the show again.
Well, I appreciate you coming back again. You know, as we've all said here, that you, Speaker of the House, Joe Tate, has an open invitation to always come back to WHPR. So I know that comes from everybody, from President Watkins all the way to everybody, from our engineer to our receptionist and everybody. We always have an open invitation for you to come back. But let me address something real quick first today too. Just kind of something that you've heard, that the Vice President Kamala Harris has made her pick for her running mate, and just want to get your thoughts about. His name is Tim. Is it Walz of Minnesota? Are you familiar with this pick that he is going to be her running mate, Speaker House Tate?
Yes, I am, and really excited about the Vice President's pick for her running mate.
Okay.
I think Governor Walz is incredibly has been incredibly effective, not only as a governor in the state of Minnesota, where he's done a significant amount of has passed a significant amount and signed into law a significant amount of legislation, whether it's, capping prescription drug prices, to his work around tax cuts for working families, to free breakfast and lunch for school children across the state of Minnesota. A lot of similarities to the state of Michigan and the work that we've done as Democrats, and really, really excited to have him on the ticket with the Vice President.
Well, and I think that's something that, well, let me ask you this question too. Was it any surprise to you? Because I know a lot of people, they looked at the top three. They were looking at Walz. They were also looking in terms of, say, at Kelly out in Arizona. And they were also thinking about Shapiro out in Pennsylvania. So in terms of, say, the strategies behind her picking him, what do you think her strategy was in terms of, saying, picking the governor from Minnesota?
Yeah, I think for the Vice President, I think she has, her and her team have talked about that. She wanted someone to be a partner with, okay, in this, just like she has been a partner with President Biden and the administration that they've led on for the past 3.5 years. And the second point I think that I'll make, as you mentioned, there was a deep bench of Democrats, across this country that have been doing things that have been significantly improving the quality of life of people. As you mentioned, Senator Kelly in Arizona, he's been doing a lot of work. Governor Shapiro in Pennsylvania, obviously our governor here in Michigan, and along with others. So I think it shows that, Democrats, we get things done. for the American people, whether you're in Minnesota or you're in Michigan. But specifically for Governor Walz, I think that was, the vice president wanted to, have a partner moving forward, and he has that experience not only as a governor in Minnesota, but his work too in D.C. as a member of Congress for a number of years, just getting work done for the American people in Washington.
Well, how then do you think, in terms of say that now that the VP running mate will be Walz, how do you think that then Michigan is going to play in as far as, say, you being the Speaker of the House? How do you think that the Michigan legislation is going to play in to this whole, opportunity to try and get the Walz-Harris or the Harris-Walz ticket elected?
Yeah, I think one of the things is I think we have to be able to communicate, what we've done for the people that we serve. Okay. So here in Michigan, everything that we've done from supporting workers across the state, how are we creating safe and strong community with gun violence prevention legislation, to one of the largest targeted tax cuts for working families and seniors. I think for us, telling our story, because I think as Democrats, when we tell our story, I think that really resonates with people across not only the state of Michigan, but across the country. And frankly, Republicans don't have that story. Their story is to, how do we marginalize groups of people in America? How do we divide people? But when you look at what Vice President Harris has been doing, how are we listening to people and understanding what their challenges are, and how in government, how are our leaders creating opportunities for people, for the people that we serve? How do we do the service? How do we do the work to help people and improve people's lives? And I think that's the biggest difference. But we have to tell that story. Like, we have to do the work. We have to meet people where they are, talk about the work that we've been doing, and make sure that we get and support Vice President Harris, get her to the White House, and continue the work that she's been doing in this current administration.
Yeah, because I think that since the last time that, Speaker, that we had talked, I know there's been a lot of things that have been, changed as far as, say, in the dynamic, the landscape of how the U.S. politics have been played out in terms of, say, because Biden now has stepped down and Vice President Harris is now the current candidate, for the presidential, seat in the White House. But the other question I wanted to kind of ask you about too is that, was there anything that kind of has happened since the last time we talked that you'd like to go and express to our Truth to Power viewers and listeners?
Yes. So there's one thing, as you know, before we were, President Biden was still at the top of the ticket. Mm-hmm. And he is, I just first and foremost want to express my gratitude to President Biden and everything that he's done, his years of service. But he did something remarkable. He passed the torch to Vice President Harris, and the amount of energy that we are seeing, not only, in for those that are Democrats, but I think for those that are Americans, what we are seeing, I think there's a significant amount of energy. I think we obviously see it in Southeast Michigan. I've seen it in Detroit, but not only in the Black community, but you're looking at across the board, just the excitement of her being at the top of the ticket, because we see what she will be able to do when she is president, because she's been doing the work in the administration for the past 3.5 years. So there's just a significant amount of excitement. We have to keep that level up. We have to ensure that people know what Vice President Harris has done and frankly, get them out to the polls to exercise their power. Get them out. As you know, as you mentioned, it's election day. It's our primary election. In about 90 days, we'll have another election here in Michigan, and we have to ensure that that voters are coming out and that we are telling our story before then about why they should vote for Vice President Harris.
Well, you mentioned, Speaker, that there's a lot of excitement now that people are being exhibiting, especially in a lot of black men that may have been a little bit reticent about, getting out there to vote. But now here you've got Kamala Harris as the candidate that's looking for the support from not only black men, but black women and, white, Hispanic, all different ethnicities throughout the country. But it seems like there's been a resurgence of black men that are interested in this election. Have you noticed that? Because I'm talking to people, from the streets to the suites, and that's all they're talking about is that they really like this election and they're really going to get out and vote. And hopefully they're doing that today, or they've done that, in the past month, during the early voting as well as the absentee ballot voting. But they're really charged up. And I mean, there was recently, as you know, Speaker, that there was a Black Women for Kamala, and they raised millions of dollars. Black men for Kamala, they raised millions of dollars, and there were even white men for Kamala that raised quite a sum of money. But what's your thoughts about that?
I think you're absolutely right. It's I think there is an excitement and energy, and I think from what we saw once Vice President Harris was elevated to the top of the ticket, you saw, first of all, you saw black women leaving, and you saw them, coalescing in terms of just getting that support out. But then you saw black men as well too, and I think that is, as you mentioned, just creating a more excitement, and in part because of not only who Vice President Harris is, but we'll go back to what she has done.
Mm-hmm.
What she has done not only as vice president, but as a U.S. senator, and the work that she's done there for our communities, and that's something that's important. And I talked a little bit before about listening, and about it is not about at the end of the day, Vice President Harris. It is about the American people, and how a Harris-Walz ticket and a Harris-Walz administration wants to make people's lives better. And I think that's resonating. I know as a black man that certainly resonates with me, because we have people that want to listen, that want to solve problems, and that want to create opportunities for all. Because that's at the end of the day, I think wherever you come from and wherever your background is, you just want to have that opportunity to have that shot. You want to have a fair shot at getting ahead in life. And I think that's something that's important. That's something that we see. That's something that we don't see from Republicans right now, because they want to do things that just support a specific group of people, versus a Vice President Harris that wants to say, like, we want to ensure that we create opportunities for all Americans. And I think that's what we want to see, and I think that's something that resonates. And I think that's where you're seeing too this increased energy, in particular from black men.
Well, and you kind of did a perfect segue when you mentioned about somebody who knows how to resolve problems and somebody who knows how to create opportunities. And that leads me to asking you, once you're reelected, and I'm going to start sounding like Nostradamus and say once you're reelected, what is in your purview for the next 2 years in the House here in Lansing?
I think for us, and with Michigan House Democrats, we want to continue the work that we're doing right now, putting people first. So how are we ensuring that we're putting money back in people's pockets? How are we ensuring that we we want to ensure that everybody gets the same opportunity? So how are we supporting our school kids? How are we supporting our teachers and staff to ensure that our educational outcomes are there where people can succeed? How are we also ensuring that we're focusing on the kitchen table issues that people want to know about, each and every day? And that goes back to putting money back in people's pockets. How are we ensuring that people can get around the state as well too? When you're looking at transportation, or you're looking at job opportunities, that's what we want to continue to do, and we've been able to do it, as a Michigan legislature, as House Dems, and we want to continue. We want to continue that work over the next 2 years. It's been a lot of progress that we've made over the past 18 months, but it's going to take longer. We need a little bit more time to continue this work, and I'm confident that we will be able to do it. And in particular, if once we get Vice President Harris to be President Harris, we're going to have a phenomenal partner in the White House to continue and keep up the work that we've been doing here in Michigan.
Well, and again, Speaker Tate, you have been doing a very, very, very outstanding job. And everybody that I talk to, from state reps, state senators, and other legislators throughout the state have said nothing but commendation to you and all of the opportunities that you have created for members of the House. And again, as I mentioned to you before, I can hear, I can see your father I can hear him just saying, "Son, well done. My son, well done." And I can hear him saying that over and over. And you should be hearing that same thing, that probably will resonate when you have a pensive thought and think back to your father and the advice that he's probably given you from your football days to your days now as the Speaker of the House.
I appreciate that. So we want to continue to make people proud as we do the work for Michigan residents.
And what are you most proud of, Speaker Tate? What are you most proud of, and not just as Speaker Tate, but also as House Representative Tate? What are you most proud of? What's your biggest accomplishment that you're most proud of?
Well, I'm incredibly proud of a lot of the landmark legislation that we've done here in Michigan, whether it is expanding the working families tax credit, repealing the pension tax, or the work that we've done around gun violence, common sense gun violence prevention legislation that we couldn't get done when Republicans were in charge, but we got it done when Democrats were leading. But I would say I'm incredibly just proud of my colleagues, the Michigan House Democrats, work that we've been doing together as a team for the people that we represent. So being able to govern and actually get legislation, meaningful legislation that impacts people's lives. That's what I'm most proud of. Just all of us working together for a common goal, whether it's gun violence prevention or free breakfast and lunch for school kids across the state, or our investment in affordable housing. I'm just really proud that we've been able to stick together as a team and focus on just getting meaningful legislation done for the people of Michigan.
Well, I don't know how much more time that you have with us, Speaker Tate, but again, I do want to thank you, and I don't know if you have to make a hard stop or if you got a few more minutes to answer a couple more questions with us.
Yeah, I have time for a couple more questions, and then I head back out to the polls.
Okay. Yeah, because that's something that, so are you pretty optimistic when you look? Because I know uh, today I've been going out and I've been going as far as Brownstown, Southgate, Wyandotte, where I've been doing poll watching. And, I'm still seeing a lot of people in the suburban areas getting out and going to the polls. But, I haven't seen as many in the city, but a lot of the poll workers there have been saying to me, Darwin, that they're attributing it to the fact that people could do the early voting. And that's something that they're really pleased that a lot of people have taken advantage of the early voting, as well as those that may have taken advantage of being able to go and vote absentee. But, I'm hoping and praying that this rain doesn't dismay anybody from getting out there and voting. But what are you seeing in terms of, say, from the numbers and people that you talk to? Because a lot of people are expecting that there probably will be an upturn of people getting out there to vote after, they get off work about 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Yes, I think that's what we're seeing. I know the weather. It was this morning. It was raining. I know on the east side of Detroit once polls opened, but I think the rain has cleared up to this point. So I am anticipating an uptick of in-person voting, as you mentioned, as people begin to get off of work. That when they're picking up their kids. But I think that we're seeing that, and I'm really excited about, as you mentioned, we've been able to lower barriers to voting. So early voting, I think that creates a real opportunity. There's no reason absentee. That's been incredibly helpful as well too, just to ensure that people are making their voices heard at the ballot box. But I anticipate, once people start getting off of work, before they start having dinner, that they'll go out and cast their vote before they head home for the evening.
Well, I pray, Speaker Tate, that you have a very, very successful remainder of this day. And I know that the people in your district, now, will there be any place in your district? Have you voted yet?
Yes. So I actually voted early this time around. It was my first time, so I really wanted to be able to do that, and it was a very smooth process. So I've already voted. Now I'm just at the polls, talking to voters as they come in. So really excited to do that.
And mention your district and mention the boundaries that your district are in, because I think that there's a lot of people that may, when you get out there and you're going and greeting people as they go to the polls to vote, to cast their ballots, is there going to be any place in particular where some of the people in your district might want to come and let you know that they support you, want to shake your hand and tell you, how great of a job you've been doing and why they want to see you, continue for the next couple of years?
Yeah. So my district, the district I'm running for, is House District 9, and it covers essentially from the Core City neighborhood all the way east, so downtown Detroit into West Village, Jefferson Chalmers, parts of Riverbend as well too. So all of the lower east side, including downtown and parts of the west side to include Corktown, Core City. But I will be around later this afternoon. I know I'll be on the east campus of WC3. I'll be stopping by there again, stopping over at Butzel Family Center as well too. And then just bouncing around to some other polling locations over the next few hours.
Well, I definitely know that they're going to be really proud to see you at Butzel and over at WC3D. So again, I definitely want you to be safe. I want you to drive safely in all this rain. And, and I'm praying that you are successful. And we hope and pray that you will continue to come back time and time again to WHPR TV 33 to give more of an update about things that are going on, not just in your district, but also as far as, say, for the state of Michigan, as well. So again, Speaker Tate, I definitely want you to let one of your staffers know, Bobby, that Darwin Griffin said to tell him hi, because he's a good man. So, and the rest of your staff, as well. But I think the thing is that if you can continue to do as you do, we're going to continue to grow, and we're going to be a great, great, great state as we've always been in the past. And with your speaker of the House leadership, we're going to continue to grow and get better and better and better as time goes on. So again, Speaker of the House, Joe Tate, we appreciate you, and we welcome you to come back anytime that you'd like to give any updates.
Well, thank you, Mr. Griffin. It's always a pleasure to be on the show.
Okay, well then we have been speaking with Speaker of the House, Joe Tate, and you have been listening to Truth to Power, and we want you to go, and if you haven't gotten out to vote today, to make sure that you exercise your power and get out to vote. And if you do know someone that needs to get a ride to get to the polls, take them with you as well. Again, thank you for watching the special edition of Truth to Power with Speaker of the House, Joe